was just about to say I found some panties.
The deputies soon turned their attention to the contents of the newly opened gun safe.
That is a nice, very nice piece of ornament. And there's one in the chamber.
51, subject Hart is valid and clear and showing 8 weapons registered to him.
Semi-auto? It's exactly
He's got 8 weapons registered.
Yeah. Okay. Check these out.
There's a whole nother
M1A one?
M14.
Oh, that M14. Oh, there's a Mini 14.
Yeah, Mini
okay.
14.
Okay. And then he's got, I'm not sure if it's an 1100 or 1187, but I want exactly this. He's got a couple of very nice firearms in that safe.
Who's that? We gonna take everything?
I'd say so. He's got like an M1A, a really nice semi-auto, 12 gauge with pistol grip.
In order for law enforcement to get into our homes, they've got to have a warrant.
San Luis Obispo attorney Louis Corey.
A warrantless search of someone's home is presumed to be illegal. So there's a presumption that has to be overcome. And really the presumption doesn't have to be overcome by the citizen in court. It's really, the burden is on the police, in this case the deputy sheriffs, to justify what they did.
Perhaps you can argue an exigency as far as going in and making sure that no one was, since you did have some guns involved and firing of guns, to go in, clear the house, make sure nobody else is in there that poses a hazard. I don't have a problem with that. But to go to the next step of acquiring keys and opening, locked containers in the house is, from all of my experience, it wasn't prudent, and it doesn't reflect well on law enforcement when people do that.
You are about to eavesdrop on a conversation between deputies as they cavalierly begin to manufacture their reasons for having gone into this house and the gun safe.
Just get your brain going. What was the exigency for entering the house?
Bodies.
Potential.
Yeah. Well, no, exigency. As far as I'm concerned, we go in the house.
Exigency
we don't
for
know.
bodies, exigency for seizing firearms is a different story.
But we've got the negligent discharge and brandishing and stuff like that. So we take the guns as safekeeping. At the very least, he's got to get a judge's order to get them back.
Take the guns as safekeeping?
A deputy returns to the house after inspecting the property and tells Deputy Murphy there are only targets down there. This doesn't please Murphy at all.
There are targets down there. Okay, are there any houses over there? No. Well, off to the right. I saw a car driving back there. Yeah. So that's an area where there are houses and stuff, right? Yeah. Screw them, negligent discharge.
Another deputy compares the entry of Hart's home to that of Los Angeles Police Detective Mark Furman when he jumped over a fence at the estate of O.J. Simpson in 1994.
Furman and who were those guys that went over the wall? That they couldn't articulate on the stand when they were being questioned by the defense.
We pulled a Furman. Who knows? This guy's shooting across. He's firing guns. He acts to fight when the police show up. He could have just killed his entire family.
My only thoughts on this deal is if we start digging more looking for hidden guns, because we've already found one, and ammo, we're going to need to paper it. I mean, the exigency only lasts until we get him, and
the guns that we can find in the immediate. Okay, well, let's take the guns in the immediate area then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Since he had keys on him.
I agree with you. We can't, going through any other place where we saw 2 gun safes. I think we're safe with those.
Right.
Searching underneath the bed and shit like that probably.
But they've already searched this by now. So see, it sounds to me as if he was going to say searching them were probably, I think the next words were not okay or something along that line.
What you will hear now in Deputy Murphy's own surprising words are his plans to defend the search of Hart's home and gun safe, as well as Hart's pending arrest.
He's already talking about filing a complaint about us being in his house, so I just want you to, whoever writes this up, to articulate their reason why.
Right. I will supplement it and use very flowery language.
What is troubling about this case is that the deputies are going out of their way to create exigent circumstances that don't exist. That's an abuse of the exception to the Fourth Amendment rule, which says that warrantless searches of homes are flat out illegal.
They went out of their way to flower up, as they called it, their evidence.
But clearly the officers are struggling, and the officer admits that he's going to have to use flowery language in order to get this past a judge. But flowery language in the report is not going to overcome the facts in this case, and under skillful cross-examination, there's no way that these deputies can justify this search.
They made some really serious mistakes.
Here, deputies discuss criminal charges now necessary to justify their search of the gun safe.
No, we're going to charge him with yet.
I was negligent discharge. I'd say 417 in the presence of a peace officer.
In the absence of a warrant, there's got to be some emergency situation. There's got to be some exigent circumstance that justifies this search. So basically what we're looking for is we're looking for some exigent circumstance that justifies intrusion into this home, and in particular, the intrusion into this gun safe. In this case, I think what you would have is you'd have the officers on the stand trying to say that there could be perhaps a victim in the gun safe, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you look at that gun safe.
In a comment heard only by the handcuffed Hart, his dog, and the open microphone, Deputy Terrell candidly minimizes the incident.
And in the future, if something like this happens, all you had to do, drop the rifle, put your hands up, listen to what we say, we'd check, make sure things are cool, and we'd be out of your hair.
Even the deputies on the scene don't think it's a big deal. Nevertheless, Hart's headed to jail, charged with negligent discharge, brandishing at police, possession of a machine gun, and resisting arrest. Deputies removed 14 firearms and miscellaneous items from the Hart residence for safekeeping.
It was just like being robbed by criminals.
Deputies Murphy and J. Wells reflect on their behavior.
We are totally justified in everything we did.
I believe so too.
We have deputies that want to get in this gun locker, apparently because they're curious about the guns. Now the question is that really what we want from our officers? At the time that they broke into that gun safe, they knew all the facts that they needed to know to walk away from that situation.
Things didn't turn out very well for Matt Hart following his unfortunate visit by sheriff's deputies that warm spring day in 2008. But his life-changing experience appears to be an ominous prophecy of things to come in these United States. As judges continue to allow the piecemeal dismantling of the Fourth Amendment's probable cause clause, capricious and warrantless intrusions by law enforcement into private American residences are occurring more and more frequently. In February, a remarkable ruling by the federal Ninth Circuit Appeals Court in San Diego left standing a warrantless search of a suspect's home and prompted the court's dissenting chief judge, the Honorable Alex Kozinski, to make this comment. Our courts have approved without blinking a police sweep of a person's home without a warrant, without probable cause, without reasonable suspicion, and without exigency. In other words, with nothing at all to support the entry except curiosity. Hart appeared before San Luis Obispo Superior Court Judge Dodie Harmon in a preliminary hearing 3 weeks after his arrest. His first defense attorney, Greg Jacobson, told us in an email that he was, quote, laying the groundwork for 1538.5 motion to suppress, unquote, which he said would have been filed after the preliminary. However, Jacobson only handled the case through that hearing before passing it off to County Assistant Public Defender Patricia Ashbaugh. In a rare move, Judge Harmon dismissed 2 of the 4 counts against Hart, including the so-called negligent discharge of a weapon that brought deputies to Hart's home in the first place. Then, on advice from the public defender, Hart agreed to plead no contest to a single misdemeanor.
The district attorney threatened that if he had to take it to trial, that he would throw 4 felonies on me.
The sheriff still holds 4 of Hart's guns, including the one Deputy Murphy said he really wanted.
This is something that can happen to anybody at any time.
And it probably will. Sheriffs and other county officials declined comment for this report because Hart has requested his guns back. Hart filed a claim against the county. That claim was promptly denied. That was the first step in filing a lawsuit. We'll keep you posted. Veteran police officer Brenner thinks an eventual solution lies in the consciences of law enforcement top brass.
Your executive managers and your supervision, they set the bar, and they set the bar for the rest of the organization. And so if shortcuts are taken at the top, then it's very easy for line level personnel to say, well, we can take shortcuts at our level as well. And that's a frightening thought, actually.